Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and I'm doing a special video tonight. We are going to take a look at an upcoming significant wind event, a significant severe weather event, if you want to call that. We can call it that as well. This is going to mainly take place mainly overnight Sunday night, basically into Monday. Mainly Monday will be the event on 13 April 2020. And we are going to be looking at some potential wind damage across the area, even if we don't get severe thunderstorms, but even that's a possibility at this point. So I want to do a special weather video, severe weather video tonight, and kind of show you what's going on. The first thing I'm going to start with in tonight's video is the surface weather charts. Now these surface weather charts are for Easter Sunday 2020. These images are courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. That's where I pulled these charts from. Always great charts. Now I'm showing you the main setup that's really going to get things going. Today on Saturday, the 11th of April 2020, it was a gorgeous day outside. I really hope everybody got a chance to go outside and enjoy the amazing springtime weather. We had high temperatures in the lower 60s across southeast Virginia. It was just perfectly blue sky, just a gorgeous day to get out. What we're looking at, though, starting with tomorrow afternoon, early tomorrow afternoon on Sunday, April 12, 2020, on Easter Sunday, there is a 1,030 millibar high situated over the western Atlantic Ocean. And I want you to pay attention to the red L, the 993 millibar low, that is developing over northern Oklahoma. All the green colors on these charts indicate rain. All the blue colors indicate snow. So this is going to be quite a dynamic weather maker, a very dynamic weather system that's going to have a major impact. Whether you're in a major snowstorm over parts of Nebraska, into Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, or whether you're in the deep south tomorrow, where you see the orange and red colors, that indicates severe thunderstorms potential. So it's going to be quite a storm. But the main thing I want you to pay attention to, the image on the left is about 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday, April 12, 2020, on Easter Sunday. An area of low pressure has developed over northern Oklahoma at a central pressure of 993 millibars. Again, that 1030 millibar high situated over the western Atlantic Ocean. And the difference in the pressure between these two features is going to tighten the pressure gradient. If you look at the image on the right, I moved ahead to 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Sunday evening, 12 April 2020. Tomorrow, Easter Sunday in the evening. We are getting some severe thunderstorms really getting going in parts of Tennessee, down into northern Mississippi, parts of Alabama by this point in time. So this is going to be quite a dynamic system. The pressure gradient, those black solid lines are getting closer together. That's going to indicate greater wind speeds. And this is just a prime weather event. A prime weather event that's going to be really impacting a lot of people. Now, I went ahead and went from the GFS model run from the first two images I showed you. And now I'm going to break it down and go down to the mesoscale model, the North American mesoscale 3-kilometer model. And I like to look at this model because the higher resolution of the 3-kilometer model tends to do a better job with convective weather, such as thunderstorms. It does a much better job in detailing some of the smaller nuances of the atmosphere that you just simply can't get with the global scale model, such as GFS. So if we look at the image on the left here is the North American mesoscale, the NAM 3-kilometer model. It shows a squall line of severe thunderstorms from eastern Virginia down into central North Carolina, South Carolina, all the way down to parts of southeastern Georgia into the Florida Panhandle. On the image on the left at about 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Monday morning, the 13th of April. As we move to the image on the right, that squall line continues to march eastward. And that line of thunderstorms moving eastward into southeast Virginia by around 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, according to the NAM model. Overall, the NAM is indicating the main squall line of strong to possibly severe thunderstorms moving through the Hampton Roads area between 10 a.m. and noon Eastern Daylight Time on Monday, the 13th of April. Moving ahead now to 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, showing you that Squall line continuing to make its progression through Hampton Roads areas, and then moving offshore by around 2 p.m. local time. So really the greatest threat, it's judging on this latest mesoscale, the NAM model for these severe thunderstorms, would be between 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Monday morning to 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Monday afternoon. Now, there could be a little bit difference in the forcing mechanisms of this line. The timing, placement of this line of storms is going to be very crucial. Now, the later this line moves through, let's say it moves through after 2 p.m. on Monday afternoon, the 13th of April, now we could be talking about even more severe thunderstorms moving through, possible rotating updrafts, mesocyclones, and possible tornadoes. The longer this takes to move through, the greater the chance for the lower atmosphere to possibly destabilize further, especially if you get any kind of sun to peek through the clouds. You're going to create greater instability in the atmosphere. And so that timing of this line moving through is going to be very crucial. But as of right now, the severe thunderstorms are on top of Hampton Roads around 12 noon local time, Monday the 13th of April, moving offshore by 2 p.m. local time. Okay, now, behind that main, more severe line of storms, there will be a secondary, less intense line of storms, according to the NAM model, that will move through by early evening on Monday. So we do have another secondary upper air disturbance kind of moving through the pattern, and it may kick off some scattered thunderstorms, a line of scattered thunderstorms. Now, everybody will see these across southeast Virginia. These are less intense than that first line that comes through earlier in the day on Monday, but just wanted to show you that here on this weather chart. Okay, so one of the biggest threats with this weather system coming in is going to be wind damage. All right, and you wouldn't think anything of that today here on the 11th of April, 2020. The winds weren't nearly as strong as they've been the past couple days. It's been really gorgeous out. But this pressure gradient is really going to get going. It's going to tighten. In addition, you're going to have a very strong low-level jet between 2,500 feet above the ground and 5,000 feet above the ground from the south. And this is going to inject very quickly moving air, very high-velocity winds right into southeast Virginia, from the Carolinas on up into eastern Virginia. The image on the left shows, I'm showing the European model, by the way. The image on the left shows the 10-meter wind gust potential miles per hour. And this is at about 2 a.m. local time, Eastern time, on Monday morning, the 13th of April. So this is while we're all really sleeping still, right? 2 a.m., most people will be sleeping in their beds. You may start hearing some of those trees blowing quicker and quicker at this point, getting blown around outside while you're sleeping. Generally, we're looking at 35 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts at about 2 a.m. time frame on Monday morning, overnight, Sunday night, into Monday morning. The image on the right shows now the winds are really picking up by 8 a.m. local time, Eastern time on Monday morning, the 13th of April. Now our wind gusts are between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Now this is a European model, and this is what it is projecting right now. So as that low-level jet really gets aligned right into the Carolinas and into eastern Virginia, we could really see the winds pick up as we move just after sunrise on Monday morning, the 13th of April. Moving along, image on the left shows a European forecast for wind gusts at about 12 noon local time. And this would be around the time the storms really start moving through, between 12 noon as well as 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Those storms could take as long as 2 p.m. to move through. But the image on the left shows how these wind gusts are now 50 to 60 miles per hour over southeastern Virginia. And then the image on the right, the European model, shows wind gusts as high as 65 to 70 miles per hour over eastern Virginia by the time we get to early afternoon on Monday, around 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So as you can see, this has the potential to be a very significant wind event for the area. And those thunderstorms are just going to increase the gustiness of the winds if they are severe. So we got to keep a close eye on this. If we get wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour and severe thunderstorms, those downdraft winds, the winds may weaken or significantly damage weaker structures or smaller structures and trees around the area. And that also could lead to possible scattered power outages across Southeast Virginia. So this is something we got to keep a close eye on. This is the latest severe thunderstorm outlook from the NOAA Storm Prediction Center. The image on the left shows for Easter Sunday, the 12th of April. The image on the right shows Monday, the 13th of April. In addition, the Storm Prediction Center will categorize it at the bottom, day 2 risk on the left, day 3 risk on the right. But they'll categorize different cities or population centers in the risk area. Tomorrow, across the Deep South, it could be a very dangerous day, and you probably heard about this on a lot of the local news channels, or if you go to the Weather Channel. It could be a very dangerous day. Look at some of the Storm Prediction Center prognosis, their statements, their discussions. Yeah, a moderate risk of tornadoes and large hail and supercell thunderstorms tomorrow across portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. For Southeast Virginia, we're not really hitting that point where we really need to be super concerned just yet on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. We'll have a marginal risk, but that's about it. Now, the image on the right shows Monday the 13th of April. That's changed slightly from this morning. I've been watching the Storm Prediction Center outlook. Initially, they had the yellow color there all the way from northeastern Florida up into parts of Pennsylvania. Well, now they've added the enhanced area, which is a step up from the slight risk area. The enhanced risk is now into parts of eastern North Carolina. So if you live in parts of eastern North Carolina, even a greater risk of possible supercell thunderstorms, very fast-moving storms, along with hail, along with tornadoes. So you definitely need to have a plan in place. Again, this could change. I want to mention this could change. That enhanced area could easily be pushed up into eastern Virginia. So this is not a final forecast by any stretch. Keep in mind, when we have the winds really blowing as rapidly as they're forecast to be, these thunderstorms are very dangerous. And the reason they are is because these fast-moving winds are pushing the thunderstorms so quickly, moving them so quickly to the northeast and east. And so you'll have very little time. You might have a tornado warning issued by your local National Weather Service office, but these storms are moving so fast, it doesn't give you much time to take place or take shelter in a safe place. So just wanted to put that out there. That's why these are so dangerous in the mid-Atlantic around April time period, because they typically are associated with a very strong low-level jet, which pushes these thunderstorms along rather rapidly. So here are the thunderstorm outlooks officially from NOAA Storm Prediction Center. I want to show you about the strong low-level jet in the forecast. This is the GFS. This is the 850 millibar level. The winds, I want you to pay attention to that purple shading. All right. Those winds are 50 to 70 knots from the south at about 5,000 feet above the ground where we live. And that's a very strong low-level jet. Typically, I'll show you an example of a low-level jet here in a minute. But overall, at this point in time, this is 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Monday morning, the 13th of April. That's when we're going to see probably some of our strongest winds. Anywhere from 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Monday. That's probably going to be the window with the strongest winds, with the jet, low-level jet being the strongest. So we have wind speeds 50 to 70 knots at 5,000 feet, in that purple shading, from eastern North Carolina into southeastern Virginia, up into parts of New Jersey, the Washington, D.C. area, parts of Maryland, into southeastern Pennsylvania. So this swath of very strong winds at 5,000 feet extends all the way up. In fact, the National Weather Service has issued high wind advisories already tonight for portions further to the north of our location, southeast Virginia. So they're keeping a close eye on this, but again, this has potential to be very interesting. What does that low-level jet do? You increase these wind speeds so rapidly, it results in an increase in what's known as speed shear, where you get very rapid acceleration of wind. And it increases the helicity. Now, helicity is just a fancy term for spinning motion in the atmosphere. When you get multiple layers in the atmosphere in the vertical, above where we live on the ground, you can actually get almost like a horizontal rolling motion. And if you get a thunderstorm to come in and updraft where the air's rising, it can actually tilt that horizontal rolling column into the vertical and can actually produce wall clouds, mesocyclones, which are just mid-level rotations within the cloud, as well as tornadoes. This is very dangerous, a very dangerous setup. Now, I wanted to zoom in on the low-level jet here on the left. Now, that's the European model. It shows you wind speeds. There's a color legend at the bottom of that. All right. That brown color there, that indicates wind speeds of 54 to 58 miles per hour, the lighter brown shading. The darker brown shading indicates wind speed between 58 and 62. Actually, it's in knots, so not miles per hour. But regardless, we're looking at forecast winds of 58 to 70 knots at 2,000. Now, this is down to 2,500 feet above the ground at 925 millibars in the atmosphere. So you've got extreme acceleration of wind with that low-level jet. Looking out over the western Atlantic, over the waters, just to the east of Virginia, just insane. You have southerly winds blowing at 78 to 85 knots, basically to the east of Delaware. So very dangerous for mariners. Definitely don't want to be out in these kind of conditions. This is life-threatening conditions. These seas will build very rapidly. You don't want to be in that position. Now, courtesy of Jeff Habe, the weatherprediction.com website, this shows a depiction of the low-level jet and usually what's happening. All right, this is the setup. With a low-level jet, you usually get a strong southerly wind. Usually it's between 850 millibars at about 5,000 feet above the ground. Generally parallels the cold front that'll be moving in from the west. You get colder air behind the storm system, behind the cold front. The low-level jet is paralleling out ahead of the cold front, transporting extreme warmth and moisture out ahead of strong cold fronts, right from the Gulf of Mexico, that source region. So I thought it was a great image to show you. The area of low pressure, a cold front extending from it, and then a warm front to the east, extending eastward from the low, and this low-level jet in the warm sector of the cyclone. And it's going to be a very intense cyclone that's going to move basically up into the Great Lakes region. Now, when you get thunderstorms, all right, you get both updrafts and downdrafts, a typical vertical motion in a thunderstorm. The image on the left shows a supercell thunderstorm with an overshooting top. And in this case, with a supercell, you'll notice that like the dark orange arrow there, that indicates a rotating updraft that's tilted in the vertical. And what that does is that tilted vertical updraft is not impacted by the downdraft in any way. It's not impacted by the rainfall coming in and out of the thunderstorm cloud. Those blue arrows indicate the strong downward gust of air known as a downdraft. That's usually associated with the heaviest rain. In addition, that is associated with the greatest wind damage potential. All right. So I want you to be paying attention to this because a thunderstorm can grow to very tall heights in the atmosphere, as high as 60,000 feet, some of the larger supercell thunderstorms. And you get strong downward bursts of air coming out of such a tall cloud. It can drag some of the stronger winds at the higher levels down to the ground, and that can make the wind gust even more damaging. So just keep this in mind. This is the general structure of a supercell thunderstorm. We could see these in the area with that squall line, with that line of storms as it moves across southeast Virginia on Monday. So we just got to keep an eye on that. Additionally, I read the discussion by the Storm Prediction Center, and they mentioned something about the possibility of these bowing lines. This is a possibility as well. We could get what are known as these bow echoes to move into the area. Now, the bow echoes are they're like middle scale type circulations. And there's an image on the right there to just kind of show you the progression of what happens through the life cycle of these echoes, these bow echoes. We call them bowing because they bow out. And wherever they're bowing out, that's usually the area where it has the damaging wind gusts. Okay? Just wanted to show you an example. When we talk about bowing line segments of thunderstorms or bow echoes, this is the general shape and characteristic of that bow echo. All right, so let me just briefly talk about here my final thoughts on the severe weather event upcoming. Regardless of thunderstorms, we still have some very significant winds that are going to be impacting the area. A damaging wind event is possible, especially on Monday, the 13th of April, 2020. Now, tomorrow and Easter, the 12th of April, again, the morning won't be so bad. You'll see some increasing clouds as that next system approaches from the west. You will see definite, if you're out and about in the afternoon, if you happen to be out in your backyard, you definitely will feel the gustiness of the wind. That wind will start picking up in the afternoon, definitely by evening. And then overnight, when most of us are sleeping, you're going to hear that wind really blowing the trees around. So we're expecting southerly winds 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts of 45 miles per hour by 8 a.m. on Monday morning, the 13th of April. Those are going to continually increase through the morning into the early afternoon to 35 to 45 miles per hour with higher gusts of 55 miles per hour by noon on Monday. Now that does not include the thunderstorm gusts. When I look at the European model for the winds, when I go back here, the image on the right where they're showing 65 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts on early Monday afternoon, that I believe is going to be associated with these thunderstorms, downdraft winds I just explained. So in general, our wind gusts will still be very strong from the south at 55 miles per hour. Okay, there may be some occasionally higher than that. It's a very dynamic system. Again, we have a lot of wind energy aloft. Whenever the atmosphere has a lot of wind energy, you feel a lot of wind blowing, you know there's a lot of energy involved. So things can get dangerous quickly. They can turn quickly. So you need to be paying attention to all your weather warnings by the National Weather Service throughout the day on Monday. Additionally, we're going to have that exceptionally strong low-level jet stream, anywhere from 2,500 feet up to 5,000 feet above the ground where we live. And what that will do will act to transport the heat, the moisture, increase that helicity values into the mid-Atlantic. Helicity, again, is a fancy way to say spinning air motion. Okay, I did take a look at the helicity index earlier today, and they look pretty high, so that's a concern. So you can get these rotating thunderstorm updrafts, which may spawn a tornado across southeast Virginia. Now, is there a guarantee we'll get a tornado? No, but there is a possibility when you get these rotating updraft winds within thunderstorms. This is when you really have to be paying attention to the latest warnings from the Weather Service office because things change so rapidly. These storms might be moving at 45 to 55 miles per hour. You have very little time to react once a tornado warning is issued, so you got to be paying attention Monday. Additionally, you'll see these bowing segments. Again, I mentioned, kind of explain what that was about, or possibly, get that squall line to move through, which is more of a north-south line of severe thunderstorms. That could potentially develop ahead of the approaching cold front, which is coming in from the west on Monday. The most damaging winds generally will be at the notch, where that bowing segment, basically where it bows out. So even outside of thunderstorms, I want to make this point, even outside of thunderstorms, okay, on Monday, Sunday night, late overnight into early Monday afternoon, all right, you have to consider the fact that the winds may be gusting between 45 and 55 miles per hour. Closer to the beach and to the water, they could be even gustier than that because you have less friction. So those winds could be gusting 60 miles per hour plus along the beach on Monday morning into Monday afternoon. This is going to cause damage to weak structures and trees. And with that, the power outages are a concern for sure. So again, even outside of thunderstorms, if we get thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms, if we get a strong downdraft, downward motion out of a thunderstorm, the gusts could be even higher during those times. But even outside of those thunderstorm possibilities, you got to be cautious about this. It's definitely going to be a significant event. You want to bring in all outdoor furniture and any loose objects, outdoor objects that may get blown about by the wind. Bring those in Sunday evening. Don't wait until Monday morning because by that point, the winds are going to be even very strong, even stronger. It can be easily blown about. So keep that in mind. Just wanted to cover this special severe weather video with everybody to kind of inform them. I've been posting some images throughout the day today on Facebook as well as Twitter. This is a significant event. Everything is coming together for a significant event. And the main ingredients I look for, first of all, is a synoptic setup. We got a very tight pressure gradient creating a lot of wind from the south, basically between a retreating high pressure system over the western Atlantic and then this developing low pressure system, which eventually moves all the way into the Great Lakes region by Monday afternoon. As it moves, though, to the northeast, we have blizzard-like conditions on its backside into parts of northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and we get the severe thunderstorms tomorrow over the deep south. Look out. Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. It's a very dangerous day tomorrow for you. And then everything, like I said, is coming together. We got this low, we got the gradient, and then you get the model starting to output some of these values. European model, I've looked at in the past for wind gusts, especially during hurricane season when we get tropical cyclones that pass off the East Coast. Tends to be a little bit high. I'll be realistic with you. It tends to be a little bit high in its wind gust forecast. But still, the fact the European is showing this, we still need to take this event very seriously. Look at the outlook again from the Storm Prediction Center. You see where the risks are at. And then that low-level jet, that purple shading, very strong wind speeds, 64 knot winds or greater, according to this scale, on the GFS model tonight. And again, just showing you some of the dynamics involved with thunderstorm formation. Again, just be prepared. Be prepared to take shelter in a safe place on Monday. Be paying attention to the latest warnings from the National Weather Service. All right, that wraps things up. I want to end this special video with one great note. I hope everybody is super healthy out there. Hope everybody's doing well during this pandemic, again, with the coronavirus. Keep doing what you're doing with social distancing. Looking at the models for the coronavirus, it looks like it's working, so that's a good thing. But, we got to keep it up. We need to keep going with that, okay? So, one final thought to end the video. I want to say Happy Easter to everybody from Spot On Weather. I hope you have a wonderful Easter Sunday. I will be looking at the weather charts throughout the day, just kind of see if there's any changes to the forecast. I really hope, if you have little ones, the Easter Bunny brings them great things, hides those eggs. Everybody has fun in the morning. The kids have fun looking for the eggs and brings them that nice basket of candy. Just take care, everybody. Again, I thank you for your subscription to my channel. Have a good night, everybody. Until next time.